Joining me now is Ben Bradley, WGN News anchor and investigative reporter, and my friend, who also I know has many leather-bound books in his library. Hi, Ben.
I can't believe you set me up with a clip of Ron Burgundy. I'm honored.
I had to. You know I love you. So local news has a special place in my heart. I spent 20 years in local news before joining NewsNation. And I think what sets local news apart is the fact that reporters like you are on the ground and you're talking to people in the community that you live. What do you think sets local news apart and some of the challenges that media landscape is facing right now?
You know, I always say with local news, it's like a well-balanced diet, right? Local news gives you your vegetables, the city council meetings, public safety issues, but we also give you dessert, features and positive stories that bring communities together. I think too often what I see from websites and from some national media is just the carbohydrates, the things that fuel outrage, the things that reinforce a previously held opinion. There's no nourishment in a lot of what I consider to be the national media. Sometimes they're doing it for political motivation, sometimes it's for clicks. It's rarely to help or improve a local community.
And really, that's where NewsNation was born, is leaning into the trust that local news has in so many of our communities. Here's some numbers. People who say that they believe local news is accurate, 78% of Democrats, 66% of Republicans. They believe local news is also transparent, 69% of Democrats, 59% of Republicans. So when we started NewsNation, we understood the power of local news. And to this day, we use a lot of your reports and other affiliates across the country. Talk about the trust and the responsibility in your job every day in continuing to build on that trust.
I always tell people when they say, why should I trust you? Why should I talk to you? And I say, it's because I was born and raised in Chicago, and all I've ever wanted to do is be a reporter in Chicago. So I'm not going anywhere. I also think, by the way, that's the advantage of NewsNation. So our parent company, Nexstar, employs 6,000 journalists in local communities across the country. And so when NewsNation covers a story, often it's relying on people who live in the communities, whereas I think some other national media, they just parachute people in for a community's worst moment, and then they leave the wreckage behind. That's just the way a lot of national media has to work. In local media, we're here day in and day out, covering the good, the bad, the ugly, but we have a vested interest in the communities that we serve. And it's a significant difference, Marni. It was funny. Where else can you find a majority of Republicans and a majority of Democrats agreeing on something? In that Pew survey, it says the majority of people from both parties agree that local news is fair. And I think that's significant. And it's a bit like when people say, oh, I hate Congress, but I like my local congressman.
Exactly.
We're the local congressman in that scenario.
Right. It's a relationship that is built over time, and that trust is embedded in it. Social media, though, plays such a huge part. The flip side of this coin is there are so many options for people to get their news. It means that news has to meet people where they are. How have you incorporated that in your day-to-day, connecting with people that you're reporting on?
We try to be everywhere that our viewers are, whether that's social media, whether that's on TV, whether that's streaming our newscasts. And the numbers show we do a pretty good job of it. It's funny, in that Pew Research survey, it said, well, more people are getting their news from digital. And I would ask, well, what does that mean? Is that a local news organization's digital website or app? Or is that your, crazy Uncle Bob's Facebook stream? Or is that a YouTuber who is stealing other people's work and then adding his or her spin to it? There's a difference, and I think it is incumbent upon everybody to be an educated consumer of news. To your point about social media, trust me, we all heard it during the pandemic. Now more than ever, viewers have a direct line to us through social media. And I think the one thing people, especially in emotional moments, miss is that, when we are reporting on, a governor's COVID protocols, don't shoot the messenger, right? We have a twofold job. One, to report what the people in power are ordering or instructing and saying, and two, to challenge that when appropriate.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.